Sarah, can we talk about Intel's Broadwell-powered NUC?
Let's do it.
This is
Talk
Let's
another
about the
do it.
NUC.
pre-podcast pre-exclusive early
Man,
look.
Scott, as the editor of our podcast, I feel so honored that you bestow these exclusives upon
You're
my
getting
domain.
all the goodness, man.
Yeah.
So
Cyril?
yeah, Cyril, this is what, I don't know, third, fourth generation of this. What is a NUC?
A NUC. I don't know. It's a small PC. It was originally the next called the next unit of computing, which is a very weird name for kind of a very miniaturized desktop PC, which is smaller than Mini ITX, has basically a laptop CPU. It's kind of a laptop without the
Without the screen.
laptop. It's like the
Yeah,
yeah,
with the
without
key.
the screen, without the keyboard, without the touchpad, without anything. It's just everything is kind of crammed into this little box that's about 4 inches, 4 inches by 4 inches. Um, which you can stick it behind a monitor. You can just use it as a like a corporate PC and in an office if you need a little machine that doesn't take a lot of space, but it's still reasonably powerful. You can use it as like a router or a file server. You can use it for a whole bunch of
Huh.
things because it's really tiny and it just goes anywhere and it's still reasonably powerful. I mean, it's ultrabook guts basically.
So an altar box is that's what I think they should have called them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is how much does this thing cost, and does it come with everything you need?
So they haven't really set the price yet, I don't think, but they're expecting to sell it for about $430. It comes with a Core i5 5250U, which is some kind of ultrabook chip. We'll talk more about it more in a minute, probably. It doesn't come with memory or storage, so you're supposed to supply your own DDR3L SO-DIMMs. You need two because the CPU is dual channel, has a dual channel memory controller, and you also need an M.2 solid state drive because there is, at least in this iteration, which is, as you can see, very very thin here, or if you're listening to the podcast to the audio version, you can't see it, so you'll have to read the review. Um, it doesn't have room for a 2.5 inch or 1.8 inch for that matter SSD, so you have to use an M.2 SSD. Thankfully, you can get at this stage, I think, M.2 SSDs. They're about the same price as 2.5 inch drives. Usually, it's about the same. It's just memory chips. It doesn't really matter how they're arranged. Uh, it supports SATA or PCIe drives, and it actually has 4 lanes of PCIe Gen 2 connectivity. So it supports, basically, you can have more bandwidth going through it than on a lot of desktop motherboards. So you can get a pretty solid amount of storage bandwidth from it. The one of the drives Intel sent us with it. I mean, the system doesn't ship with anything, but Intel sent us the review sample with some components so we could test it. Um, One of the drives is rated for over a gigabyte per second read speed, which is pretty pretty impressive for an SSD, and not usually the kind of performance you would expect from a storage device in something this small. Other than that, the system, you need to supply your own copy of Windows. It doesn't come with Windows 8 or anything, and obviously you need your keyboard, mouse, monitor. You probably need to scavenge some old parts or buy new ones there. But yeah, it's kind of, yeah, it's basically a bare bones machine with almost everything you need, but you can supply your own. You have to supply your own memory, storage, and Windows license.
Yeah.
And
So
it
so
comes with the Wi-Fi controller built in, I should point out.
yeah. So oh, it does. Okay. It used to
Yeah.
be in the last generation you had to you had to buy a Wi-Fi
hmm
card too. So
Yeah,
this.
they changed it.
Oh, okay.
And this is the latest. I think the one they launched alongside Broadwell U, the new AC controller. So it's 802.11 AC plus Bluetooth 4 plus Intel wireless display. It's soldered on. I mean soldered on, so you can't remove it. But considering it's 802.11 AC, I think most people will probably be happy with it, unless they want WiGig or something. But
you can't get that yet.
Yeah, but in
right.
a few years.
Right. Well, then you plug it into the USB port, but
yeah.
Although that would maybe not be great, but anyway. So yeah, this is kind of a. I think this is the future of the corporate desktop PC right here. This is kind of just like computer commodity box, bam, right?
Yeah.
You've got an Ultrabook type thing, and it just plugs into whatever. And Jordan, I got to say, I like this better than the iMac approach. Because you can upgrade the display and the computer independently of one another, right?
But there's not an Apple on it.
There is not. There is.
Well,
not.
I mean, Apple does make the Mac Mini.
Jordan,
why
there you go.
The Mac Mini?
That's right. That's right. You're not on message, man.
I'm sorry. Let's be clear. No one can pitch the Mac Mini. That's not a very exciting device.
They need to keep it up to date like this. This is the latest Intel stuff. It could very well be the basis of a new Mac Mini.
All I can tell you about the Mac Mini is it would smell better out of the box because it's got that Apple smell. But that's all. That's about it.
We need to include the smell rating in the review, Cyril.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I couldn't. I wasn't able to graph that. I need some new equipment. But no, the Mac Mini is kind of disappointing because it comes with like mechanical storage in 2015, and it's still $500. So. But this thing would probably be more expensive once you put all the components in. But it's a way better machine because it's newer and it supports you can stick a really fast solid state drive in there. And the latest Broadwell guts and it's just it's better.
And so this is the Core i5 version. And it's got the Broadwell chip, which I think we should go ahead and talk about because this is the Broadwell U. It's the Ultrabook chip. It's what, 2 cores, 4 threads?
That's right.
Which is pretty great. And what's the clock speed on it?
1.6 base, 2.7 turbo.
Which is not that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. The last generation, the Haswell equivalent, which was the exact same price, same model number, except replace the leading 5 with a 4. The base speed was 1.3 and the turbo was 2.6. So turbo is about the same. Base has gone up quite a bit. And
Broadwell's a little faster clock for clock, so it's not bad. The point I was trying to make is I'm pretty sure they have a Core i3 version of this thing too.
Oh yeah.
So this is a more premium. It's $430 plus whatever SSD and memory you put in it. And then you're done. Oh, and the OS, right? So, assuming you have to pay for the OS. I was kind of saying, Jeff, I wish they had packaged this with that Windows Bing thing, where you get a free version of Windows that you have to change the default search on. It's unfortunate. I don't know if that has to be. It can't be a bare bones system. Maybe it just has to be a complete system. This is like a perfect candidate for that because the OS is a huge portion of the cost if you have to go buy a whole new license, and it's a teeny little device. So,
well, I'm kind of surprised they don't sell a packaged version because I know that Zotac kind of started these little mini devices, and they would always sell a bare bones version with sort of no memory, no storage, no OS, and then they'd have their Plus variant, which would have, I guess they do Windows on them now. I'm not sure if they did them all the time, but it'd sell it with a hard drive and memory. I mean, Intel makes its own SSDs. It wouldn't take much for them to sell a version of this that's basically a PC. I mean, they may not want to do that to avoid competing with some of their customers, but
right. I think that's the issue, is that there are system companies that package these things up and sell them. And so you can go get a whole system, but Intel sent us just the bare bones kit. So the other thing that's new is this the power adapter. It's smaller, Cyril. Did you know that?
I did not know that. I know it was small, but I haven't actually seen the power adapter, the Haswell version. So if you have it handy, I mean, I could hold up the Broadwell one while you hold up the Haswell one. So
well, we get.
I will take a picture with the RealSense camera and then compare the sizes.
There we go, and we'll be all Intel. It'll be awesome. No, this is just a standard like laptop size adapter on the Haswell NUC. So I just been testing this for comparison with what Cyril's testing. So this is about what they've had since they started, and now they've gotten a wall wart, which is nice, except that it plugs right in and covers up your outlet. So I wish it didn't do that, but they were kind of miniaturizing this further. So
yeah, and it's kind of neat on this one. The like the plug is actually removable, if I can do it. But they send you like I mean, in the box you get like adapters, I mean plugs for international outlets. Yeah, I think there's probably like oh, there's a clip. There we go.
He's gonna electrocute himself.
Yeah, no, it's not plugged in. But yeah, so you can swap in, like it comes with like a British plug and like a European/Korean one and some other one that I think is Australian or possibly Chinese.
They're atoning for past sins because the original NUCs didn't come with the final power lead that plugs into the wall. They just had the laptop style brick, and then you had to supply your own power lead.
Oh.
Which will let them ship one SKU to a whole bunch of markets and then let everybody else deal with the problem. But it was terrible for everybody who got one. It was like, I'm ready to plug it in and I can't. So so it looks like you cracked this thing open and looked inside. It really is basically what, like laptop parts inside of a little box.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, the motherboard is, I guess on an Ultrabook it would be like wider, but it's an Ultrabook CPU that's soldered on with a really tiny little cooler and like an even tinier fan. And it actually sounds like a laptop when you use it. Like the cooling system, it has this kind of steady hiss that's typical of some laptops. So yeah.
And it's what, a 15-watt CPU? I think it's really an Ultrabook CPU, so it's super low power. Yeah. So so how is it to? I guess we got a whole bunch of numbers comparing it to the Haswell version. It looks like it's faster generally.
Yeah.
So same power envelope. It's basically the 4250U versus the 5250U. So Haswell versus Broadwell, and it looks like it's slightly faster, which is nice. And a lot of that's just the clock speed. Some of it may be clock for clock performance in Broadwell, but none of it is really, I guess, unexpected. The graphics are a little faster as well.
I mean, like a fraction of a frame per second in our Thief benchmark. So I don't honestly, based on the numbers, I haven't used the Haswell system, but I don't think you would be able to tell the difference necessarily. It's faster, but very slightly. You know, it's you know, a few percent basically.
And so it looks like you tested this in various games, and it actually will run some games. You can play games on this?
Oh yeah, for sure. You know, Thief, obviously we got like 12 or 13 FPS. Well, I guess the settings we chose were not the absolute lowest.
But it's like 720p, right?
Yeah, but we had FXA on, so that might have spoiled things a little bit. But if you want to play like an indie game like Race the Sun or something, like something with very plain 3D graphics, that's going to run fine. I mean, I got, you know, 1080p, highest detail. Race the Sun was like pretty much a solid 60 FPS. You know, other games you're going to get, you know, you really have to turn everything down, turn down the resolution, basic lowest detail possible. You know, something like Counter-Strike Global Offensive, or the other one I tested, the name escapes me. You're gonna get like 30, 45 frames per second, which is enough. Sometimes a little more, which is enough, you know, to get to play the game, to enjoy it possibly. But you know, it's not gonna wow you with, you know, eye candy, and it's not going to be super smooth, but you can do some gaming on this, just like you can do some gaming on an Ultrabook.
And so, okay, let's look at the power consumption here, because this is insane. So at idle, 7 watts.
7 watts.
And then under load, it cranks up to 3 times that.
Yeah. which, well, 3 times 7 is only 21, which is still insanely low. That's like two 60 watt equivalent LED bulbs or something. It's just a very tiny amount of power consumption, considering what you can do with the thing.
Yeah.
It's a full-fledged computer.
What is your perception? Do you have any impressions from using it just to do stuff yet? I know that was something you were going to spend some time just playing with.
Yeah, I need to spend more time playing with it, but so far, I mean, it feels fine. I think in terms of like subjective performance, I think it's really down to the storage solution more than the CPU for like web browsing and desktop stuff for the most part. It just feels like a PC should feel. Basically, installing programs, browsing the web, doing whatever. I didn't do really any heavy like productivity type work. I didn't fire up Photoshop or anything, but just using the OS, browsing the web, and so forth. It just feels pretty much as fast as my own desktop PC. Maybe slightly slower, but it doesn't ever really get in the way. And my desktop PC is reasonably fast. I have.
It's getting old, dude.
No, because I had to change it.
Oh, right, it died.
Yeah. So what I'm using right now is a Core i7 3770K.
Oh, geez. Okay,
with
so
8 gigs of RAM.
You're better
So
than me.
Yeah.
You're better off than me. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I need to swap it out. This was my GPU testing rig, but you haven't had me test any GPUs lately.
So just cannibalize that mother.
Yeah. Well, Jeff had the other board with the case warmer, which I need to replace anyway. So that's going to be
right. Well, but that's a good basis of comparison.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're not noticing a difference between that and this is pretty decent then.
I mean, there is a difference. You can kind of tell if you pay attention, but switching from one to the other, it doesn't feel like one is like so much slower that it gets annoying. Really, it's just this page takes maybe like a couple extra 100 milliseconds to load or something like that. It's just very very subtle. So yeah.
So it seems like this is something that if you're just looking for like a PC for your grandma or something like that this would be a good option for basic use, right?
Well, for I don't know, maybe for a family member, I would maybe be more inclined to recommend like an all-in-one. But then again, with an all-in-one, you have the issue that if the display breaks, then you have to to return the whole system. Or get rid of the whole system. With this, it's modular. If you have a problem with the SSD, you can take the SSD out. If you have a problem with the monitor, just use a different monitor. So, I don't know. It just as a PC for someone who doesn't really need to play like heavy duty games or whatever, who doesn't really need like additional expansion for, I don't know, like a TV tuner or whatever the kids are using in their whatever the kids are putting in their PCIe slots nowadays.
Oh my gosh.
It's fine. It just does everything you need.
Yeah.
And it's nice. The only downside really is the noise. It would be nicer if Intel had made it a little bit bigger.
Yeah, well, they keep
put a larger fan in there.
This is a little thinner than the Haswell one, which I think was a little thinner than the one before. They keep going thinner, and they're getting the power down a little bit, but like this is what 3 watts less under load, I think. But yeah, I'd much rather have something maybe twice as tall that's silent than something that hisses and whines a little bit. And I don't understand that. Like, what are they, I mean, I get that, like, you can attach this to the back of a monitor or some things like that maybe it would make sense in. But why wouldn't you have a version that's just quiet?
I think point is that because I've seen some third-party cases, because the motherboards on these are standardized,
Yeah.
and you can get some passively cooled cases that are designed specifically for the motherboards in there. So I think they figure the market is so small for this that in the meantime they'll just let kind of case makers fill in that void. And if there comes a time where it's more beneficial for them, or they can make more money doing it that way, then they'll do it themselves. But I would love to have one of these things that just is the heatsink is the case.
Yeah.
And there are no fans anywhere because, I mean, especially for a home theater PC, that's ideal.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, and speaking of the case and all this stuff, at CES they were showing a custom lid. I guess you can 3D print lids or get custom lids for these because the lid's kind of a thing that comes off and can be modular. And it was a lid with a Hoppage TV tuner integrated into it. And so you can make this into a little home theater PC that tunes and records stuff by using a lid that just sort of integrates in with it. It was not pretty, but I think maybe it was just a prototype or something. It was in fact really quite ugly, but that was really on Hoppage for whatever they were doing there style wise. But it's a neat idea to be able to have that kind of expansion, so that you can turn this into a custom box that will do some things like that. So I'm curious to see. I think there will be more custom lids coming for these if they kind of have some success, get some traction with people wanting to make them. So cool.